Hello and welcome to the 24th episode of Yarn Equals Joy. I will show you all the details. It is January 9th, 2021. I am Rachely Book Girl on Instagram and Rachely on Ravelry, and this is the Yarn Equals Joy podcast. And wow, I was going to start by saying Happy New Year, but I kind of have the wind knocked out of my sails, as many of us do, by how this year began. And it is crazy enough with what's going on at my school, with changes for COVID protocols, now that there were kids who were congregating or partying outside of school, and so we have some changes we need to make, and it's just overwhelming. And then to add to that, the despicable, really unconscionable attack on our country, our democracy, by people who should really know better, is very demoralizing and frightening. And I hope that we can manage somehow to usher in a new era with Biden and Harris and behave ourselves, because we are better than this. I did not, grow up in this country expecting it to look like this at this stage of my life, and it is really scary and sad, and I hope that we can fix it. Okay, so that's enough for politics, but it just felt like something that couldn't be totally ignored. So I have a lot more knitting and stuff. I'm going to try to do it quickly so it doesn't take forever to watch or to download or upload or whatever the heck we're doing. First of all, I told you, I think last time or the time before, that I'm obsessed with, was it just the time before? I guess it was last time. So I have been really busy since showing you my first belly button baby blanket. I have made a second one, and there's some differences. So I will show you. This is sort of half of it, and this is it in its full glory. If you can see that I blocked it differently. So I blocked it so all the pinwheel points were standing out, and I'll show you the other one in a second that I blocked more round, circular. I also made more of a belly button holding thing this time, and I didn't close it off. And the reason I did is because when I was doing a video for my son's birthday, my oldest son turned 35. We were talking about, or I was talking about, his stuffed animal Teddy and how he used to sort of twirl the tail and suck his thumb, and that was sort of a comfort. And I thought, well, gosh, a blanket should have a little tail too that you could hold on to. So I know it started because it was fiddly and I don't like working with DPNs, but it ended up being a design feature that I love and am accentuating. And then I did the Picot bind off again, which took forever, but and is really, really curly at the start, but when it's blocked, it sits pretty nicely. I don't know if you can actually see that. So that's what it looks like with sort of all its glory. I did do more similar colors in this one, so I just stuck to sort of purples and blues, but I did still do my classic marling. And this is the other one you remember, which has, a very different feel because I used a lot more colors. I was toying with the thought that I could write up my version of the pattern and make kits of my gigantic stash if people didn't like the whole having to choose colors, and put together a kit, not that I'm actually going to do this, but I thought it would be a great idea, with like 7 or 8 different skeins of fingering marked off, like you do these, because it's all marled, right? So you do these two together, and then you drop this and add this, and then you drop this and add that, and then people would have their own squishy, gorgeous blankets, which I think are like super, super fun. Really, really fun and squishy and big, and it could be a playmat on the floor, it could be a lovey. Really, really excited about those. So that's that. Next on my agenda is something not so good, like not such a win. I really didn't love the pattern. I said I was going to make these Duffers Revisited socks with this really woolly wool that felted, and it's okay. And you know, I don't know. Now it's not looking terrible to me, but I don't know. I don't know if people would really want them or wear them. I don't even know if I'm going to make the second one. I don't know. Tell me your thoughts. I mean, it has a little weird fit. I think maybe it's a little big. That's probably the problem. I could see if one of my sons wanted some kind of slippers. I don't know. I have to think about that. But yeah, not thrilled with the pattern or the outcome. And again, I've felted before. I haven't done it in a while. But this version, you know, wasn't thrilling. And then the only other finished thing I have is this little wondrous dishcloth. I've made those before by Jewels of So Sweet Violet. For those of you who have not yet tried, this is really a fun pattern. Not only is it fun to do, but you end up with this really gorgeous, squishy, two-sided, two thicknesses of a washcloth and cotton, and it's really, 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 really fun. This was just done in, I think, Knit Picks Dishy. But I also had some, what is this? This is sheep cheese stone washed in these tiny little things, and they aren't enough to do one, so I was just experimenting with sort of striping some. These do not feel as thick, but I think they would be gorgeous and fine for washcloths. I don't know. We'll have to see if they would wear as well as the others, but this is also cotton, and the colors are absolutely gorgeous, these stone washed colors. So we'll see. That's just something to pick up. I haven't really used them myself, although I would like to, but they make really, really great gifts, which I love. Okay, so next on that's it for the FOs, the big belly button baby blanket, which was epic because I don't think I'd even started that when I podcast last at the end of November. And it is addicting. I'm gonna have to not cast one on if I wanna get any other kind of knitting done. I am also doing the half wrap triangle cowl with Caddy Jack Knits, the Pearl Soho pattern out of their linen quill. And I'm not very far. I'm like, you know, I've used up one ball and maybe part of a second of this turquoisey color. I will say it feels great. I know that I will love having it, but to me, as far as I love mindless knitting, we all know that, but I love playing with color. So to just do one color until you switch has not been as big a draw to me, although I'm sure I will love the final product. And then I was gonna do a hot pink on the other side, but I decided to switch to this like bright deep yellow, which is really fun, and I thought that would be a fun pop with the tealy blue color. I have definitely gone down the Pearl Soho linen quill rabbit hole big time, partly because they were having all sorts of sales over the holidays, but also partly because it just feels really nice knit up, and it's very reasonably priced, and it comes in all sorts of colors, and you know me and colors. So I have cast on Natasha Hornsby's Anthem Shawl, and I am doing it in linen quill as well. I'm doing it in 3 colors, dark denim, peony pink, and rhubarb pink. And you can see, I think the main color is going to be that sort of tweedy looking, or I don't know what you would call that, but nubby sort of looking, even though it isn't, denim, and then you have the rhubarb pink, which is the darker one, and the peony, which is the light. So I'm really excited about that. I haven't gotten very far, but it is a really pretty color work, slip stitch color work, mosaic knitting, really, really pretty. So I'm excited to have that. So that may be it in terms of the projects that I wanted to show, and I am going pretty quickly. I do have a plan for something exciting that I don't have the yarn for yet, but I will show you the pattern. So my oldest son was supposed to get married last summer. They postponed it. They are hoping to get married this summer, and it occurred to me that as a knitter, mom of the groom, I might knit my daughter-in-law to be a shawl to wear, you know, when it gets chilly at night at the wedding, but I didn't want to overstep, and I certainly didn't want to assume that her style, which is very different from my style, would make sense, or even that a shawl was something that was appealing to her. But she liked the idea, and I think I made it clear that it comes with no strings. In other words, if it doesn't work to wear it, or it doesn't work with the dress because she hasn't picked out her dress yet, you know, that's not going to be a big deal. But she picked out Helen Stewart's Sprite's Fen shawl out of the 3 options I gave her, and it feels very bridal to me. It's beautiful, beautiful lace. I hope it's not going to be too hard for me, but I've done other Helen Stewart patterns, and I feel like she really is very careful and walks you through, so I'm really hoping that works well. I've ordered a beautiful yarn. I hope it's beautiful. I did this all online. A yarn from Quince & Co. It's Turn, which is a fingering weight that is wool or merino and silk. And so I thought it would have a beautiful drape and sheen for the wedding. And she wanted like an off-white or cream, very pale color, but not a white. And they had a beautiful cream that had sort of peachy tones, and I sent her a picture and she thought it was gorgeous. So hopefully I will be able to get that done, and hopefully that will work, and it will be a good gift and an heirloom. You know, I imagine in my romantic imagination someday their daughter needing to go to prom or something, and her mother pulling out this shawl that your grandmother made and letting you take that shawl that was worn at the wedding of her parents. So anyway, we'll see. So I did do an advent calendar. I don't know if I talked about it at all. It was Pineapple Yarns, and the reason I chose that was because I love her aesthetic. It's just bright and fun and happy, and that's exactly sort of what I felt like I needed. I did get the extra skein, which has all the colors in it, which is this. It's so pretty. And then I loved it, but I also had issues with it, and I'll explain why in a second. So it was sort of a gradient, but when I started opening it, I honestly thought there had been a mistake and they were all the same color. So there are just tiny, as you go through these colors, they're tiny, slight changes in, you know, maybe it doesn't have pink and then it does have pink, or maybe it has a little pink and then it has a lot of pink. But in terms of like opening something, then it went to, you know, the blues, and then it went to, you know, the pinks and peaches. And so when I look at them all, I absolutely love them. But I have got to admit, when I was pulling the first like 5 out, I was like, this is so boring. They all are like gorgeous, but they look identical. Like these two, you know, you could see these would have been, you know, probably, let's see if it has a number on it. Yeah, this is 2, and this is 3. Okay, so one day you opened one of these, and then the other day you opened the other, And to me, they were like exactly the same. And so I felt like the fun of like opening new colors wasn't really there. But when I look at like the whole bag of them, I'm thrilled and I love it and I know I'll do something fun with it. But in terms of like surprises to open, that didn't work as well for me because I felt, especially at the beginning, I was like, what is going on here? They're all like yellow with bright neon speckles, which I love, but like I really did think there was a mistake at first. And I get there was a huge method to our madness and it must be super hard and complicated to, to figure all of that out. Anyway, by the way, I keep messing with my hair. I cut it myself for the first time because I just couldn't stand it anymore. I've not been to a hairdresser, even though I have to go to work. One time since the pandemic started, my next door neighbor cut it with a tool. I think I may have talked about this, that I got at Amazon. But she thought maybe she had been exposed. It wasn't really safe for me to see her. And so I did it myself. And you know what? Jessica, my hairdresser, can do a very much better job. But considering this was like free, I'm thrilled. It's fine. Okay. So back to yarny things. So a little update on the two sweaters I knit. There was the sweater, the Colorwork sweater for Josh for his big birthday, and then I had knit a Goodnight Day, really pretty sweater. I think that was, so his was in the last episode, episode 23, if anyone wants to go back and look at that. And it was, that's sort of a clip of that. And then it was the Marshland by Tin Can Knits. And then earlier this summer, I had finished a sweater for his Stratcona sweater for his fiance, and both of them came out really well. I think I didn't expect, since hers was the one that was much quicker and easier and his was the one that took a lot more work, I didn't expect that hers was going to be such a huge, gigantic hit. And actually there was such a long time between when I finished it and blocked it and wrapped it and when she actually got it that I sort of forgot about everything, and she was so in love with it. So that was really fun. And then he really loved his too. I'm not happy with the way the neck lays, although he said he doesn't want me to try to make a turtleneck out of it or a mock turtleneck. I just thought it was kind of too loose and open, but he says he's fine with that. The thing he doesn't love is that there is a band of color work like right around the ribs that is tight. And I said, I recognize that, and I don't know, next time I would have to go up another needle size or something when I'm doing color work in a sweater. So that was my first color work sweater, and I think, yeah, it got too tight in parts, and you could sort of feel that. It doesn't stop him from wearing it. He still says he loves it, but that's an issue that I will have to think about. Okay, so I talked about the Stratcona shawl that's upcoming, hopefully. So other joys. I was home alone for the holidays, not, poor me. I mean, actually, after having to be back in in-person school, it was nice to take off a mask and just relax for 2 weeks and not go anywhere and not have any travel plans. So, it was fine. But it did get a little boring, and so I needed another project. And so I had tried art journaling before and really loved it at a time in my life where I was really struggling with something, and it really helped me work it through. But, there are a lot of supplies, and it didn't seem like something that I would want to do like when I went to journal. Like, I know me, and I like to have all the supplies, but I don't love cleaning them up and putting them out again. So then I happened to stumble upon a podcast called The Unexpected Gypsy. And in that podcast, she talks a lot about art journaling. And one of the things she talked about was sort of preparing a journal. So I decided that I was just going to do that this year. So I created this 2020 journal, and I just did different sort of designs, I don't know if you can see that, on different pages And then I will go back and fill them in. So I got all sorts of really beautiful, you know, tapes and stickers and cards and postcards and all sorts of interesting things. And then I just made like completely different pages to fill in during the year with writing. This one was knitting related. It was a copy of an old ad. Remember, if you begin to knit, your 6 best girlfriends will follow your lead. And obviously I thought that was very apropos and sweet. So I would highly recommend something like this if you know, want to just sort of explore and dabble, but you, like me, want to be able to put all the supplies away and then just have a journal that you can write in. So I'm really excited about that. That's the cover again. Again, you know, I'm not an expert. I can't, you know, I can't tell you, you know, that I know exactly what I'm doing. This is a fun page. But I really had fun playing around with it. And, you know, I wrote a long sort of intro in the beginning about, you know, how I hope to use this journal. And one of the things I said was, I could imagine that on some days I would just write in the journal and the pictures might not, or the illustrations might not really have anything to do with the words. And then other days, there might be a synchronicity that I might be talking about something from my day and it might line up in a sort of happy accident with the images. And then the third way that I thought it might work is that I would open it wanting to write but not really sure what to write, and then I would riff off or discuss or talk about what the images made me think. So, you know, I would highly recommend this as an exercise. You can certainly reach out to me if you have any questions, and I'm happy to answer questions about what I did and supplies I got and stuff like that. Let me see what else. Oh, and then in other kinds of joy, I've been watching The Imposters on Netflix, which is really good, and you do need to watch like the first 2 or 3 to really see what's going on and to really get into it. I think I saw the first one, I thought this is fun, but I couldn't say that I was gonna like watch more. And then after the second or third one, I'm totally hooked, and now I think I'm on 6 or 7, and it's just fun. It is just super, super fun. And so is Bridgerton, which is a Shonda Rhimes sort of take on, you know, Jane Austen's world, but with a much more sort of modern aesthetic. So that's fun. And then there were 2 kind of serious documentaries which I found really interesting on HBO Max. One is called Murder on Middle Beach, and it's the sad story of a woman who's murdered, and her son does this documentary to try to figure out really who she was and what happened. And it's beautifully done, and I really, really would highly recommend that. And the other is The Vow, which is just super interesting about the NXIVM cult and all the sort of celebrities and people who you would think would have known better, who got sucked into it for years and years and years of their lives. And it's really another really well done documentary. So that's Murder on Middle Beach and The Vow, and then The Imposters on Netflix. Okay, that is all I have. I'm gonna say goodbye, and thanks for watching. And please, if you don't mind, just leave a comment so I know you're out there, and if there's anything you'd like to see more of or less of, or I just love hearing from you. It's a way to feel connected to the outside world in a way that's very different than, you know, my classes at school and all of that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Keep knitting. Yarn equals joy.